All right, today we're going to be talking about breakthrough. Breakthrough is a big subject. We all have an area that in our life that we probably need to work on. God wants you to have breakthrough in certain arenas in your life. Sometimes we keep going through the same thing over and over and getting the same results. We do the same thing over and over and get the same results. Some people would say that's insanity, but there's some arenas in our life that we have to overcome. That we have to have a breakthrough in that arena in our life. And like as any good coach, God knows the strengths and our weaknesses, and He knows the strong areas that we're strong in and the areas that we're maybe not as strong as. And as any good coach, He's going to keep testing your weak arm, and He's going to keep testing your weak arm, and He's going to keep testing your weak arm till what? Till your weak arm becomes your strong arm. And I was reading something this morning, and it kind of grabbed me a little bit, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. I know there's a part in Matthew, and then another part, I forget in what book it is, but it talks about Jesus being tempted. Jesus being tempted by the devil. And one part I was reading is, as He was going into the desert and into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil, He was led by the Spirit. Then after He was tempted after the 40 days and 40 nights, and He was tempted by the devil, after that, and it depends what version you read, but it said that He was filled with the Spirit. So He was led by the Spirit through the temptation, and after He made it through the temptation, He was filled with the Spirit. Or other versions say that angels came and tended to Him. But either way, He was filled with the Spirit. God has an arena in your life that He wants you to have breakthrough in. God has an arena in your life that He wants you to have breakthrough in. And you may be feeling like a little bit of these growing pains, or you may be feeling like He's testing your weak arm. Maybe your weak arm's being tested, and maybe your weak arm's being tested, and maybe your weak arm's being tested, but eventually your weak arm's going to become your strong arm. So we need some breakthrough in these arenas. So I could talk about this all day long, and I could say, you need to have breakthrough in these arenas. Yes. And I could say, these are the areas in your life that God wants you to have breakthrough, and you probably already know those as I'm talking to you right now. You know those arenas and those areas in your life that God wants you to have breakthrough, because they're holding you back from being the best version of you that you could possibly be. And also being that person that God made you and created you to be. So how do we do that? How do we do that? It's easy for me to sit here and say, especially in front of a camera and not in front of you, and I have a lot of my own things that I struggle with. There's a lot of my own things that I struggle with. So I am not perfect, and I'm not sitting up here and trying to tell you or judge you, but I'm trying to help you. So keep that in mind. How can we do this? I've heard of something called the renewal of the mind. The renewal of the mind. And I started thinking about that a couple weeks ago. What does the renewal of the mind really mean? And not only what does it mean, how does it happen? How does that transition from the old you becoming the new you? From the way that you used to think to the way that you want to think. From a thought that creates an action to creating new thoughts that create new actions, new inputs. Creating positive inputs that's creating positive outputs. And that's the way I started thinking about it a couple weeks ago, because what happens is a couple things. We put so much and feed ourselves with so much worldly things that sometimes the godly things seem so unbelievable, too big, crazy, outrageous. One of those people, huh? But the truth of the matter is, I think we put a stigma on certain people or certain things, but we add the story to what we want to add to make us feel the way that we want to feel. So if I don't want to do something with somebody, or I don't like somebody, or somebody's doing something that maybe I don't agree with, it's easy for me to tell myself a story of who that person is or what type of person they are. But what happens when it comes to me? I heard something the other day that I judge people by their actions, but me by my intentions. I look at you and see what your actions are and say, how could that person do that? But then me, I judge myself by my intentions of what I wanted to do, not necessarily what I have done. Wow. So I'm looking at you and judging you for something that maybe you're trying to do, and maybe not doing it right, or maybe not doing it the way I like it. But you're trying and you're doing it. And here I am. Here I am judging you. So how can I do that? How can I get the renewal of my mind? I kind of started to think of it as like fitness. Think of it as fitness, you guys. There's a couple things I think that really have to do with fitness and health. A, what you eat, and then the physical activity, the working out, and the fitness part of it. But what if I worked out all day long, but I ate really bad? I mean really bad. Which all I ate was fried food, nachos, Starburst, Skittles, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, especially during the Christmas time with the little Christmas trees. But what if that's all I did, but I worked out all the time? My health would still have a huge risk to it because everything that I'm putting in is eventually going to affect what's coming out. But then I actually have to step up and do the work for it too. So if I'm actually doing the workout, the physical part, I have to show up and I have to do it every day, and it has to be consistency. If I think I'm going to get results in one day, I'm probably just lying to myself. I'm not going to get the results in one day, maybe not 1 month, maybe not 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, maybe not a year. But it really depends what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and how much I really put into it. So how do we switch this? So let's say the working out is me reading, listening to stuff, hearing people, and watching stuff, watching videos, listening to podcasts, going to groups, going to church. Now, we read, we listen, we watch. So that's us working out right there. Now it gets into what are we feeding ourselves? What are we eating? What are we watching? What are we listening to? And what is it the majority of the time? What is it that we're listening to and watching and hearing and we end up doing most of the time? So if we want to change the way that we think, which is going to create a different input, which is going to create a different output, hopefully a positive input creates a positive output. So instead of maybe me watching MTV or Netflix, maybe I start watching PureFlix. Or maybe instead of watching YouTube and some nonsense shows there, or some YouTuber and some big famous guy that I'm never going to be like, maybe I start watching a pastor, a preacher, something that's going to feed me the word. Come on now. These are the things that we have to do to renew our mind, the way that we think, the way that we eat, the way that we live. Because what's coming in is the same thing that's going out. What's coming in is the same thing that's going out. I love you guys, man. I love you guys. If you want change, start by the simple changes. Start by A, what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're hearing, what you're letting in. A, to your heart, because it all starts with the thought, whatever you're thinking about. So you're planting those seeds. Let's plant those seeds. But what is it that you're feeding yourself? So let's go ahead and work out. So you're going to go ahead and read, watch, hear, repeat. Read, watch, hear, repeat. Read, watch, hear, repeat. Do it again, just like a workout. But what are you feeding yourself? What are you feeding yourself?